The clouds were thick that morning, hanging low over the horizon as Flight 372 prepared for takeoff from Doha International Airport. The air was heavy with humidity, the kind that made the tarmac shimmer like a mirage. Inside the cockpit, Captain Irfan Malik adjusted his headset while his co-pilot, First Officer Daniel Brooks, reviewed the flight path. Their destination was Istanbul, a routine 3-hour flight carrying 280 passengers, including families, business travelers, and a handful of students returning from vacation. Among them was 19-year-old Ayan Khan, a quiet aviation student who'd spent half his life dreaming of becoming a pilot. He wasn't supposed to be on this flight. His original ticket was for the next day. But after a last-minute change in plans, he boarded Flight 372, sitting in seat 23A, unaware that in a few hours, he would be responsible for every soul on board. The engines roared. The plane lifted smoothly, and soon they were cruising at 35,000 feet. The seatbelt sign turned off. Flight attendants moved down the aisles, serving breakfast trays. Laughter echoed faintly from the back, and everything felt routine, until it wasn't. An hour into the flight, turbulence struck, sudden and violent. The plane jolted hard, trays rattled, and oxygen masks dropped from overhead compartments. Gasps filled the cabin. Captain Irfan's calm voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. We're experiencing a bit of turbulence," but his tone wavered slightly, enough for Ayan to notice. Then came the silence. The hum of the engines continued, but the captain's voice cut off mid-sentence. Inside the cockpit, Irfan had slumped forward, his hand frozen on the throttle. Brooks shouted, shaking him. No response. Panic shot through his veins as he realized the captain wasn't breathing. A sudden drop in cabin pressure had hit Irfan first. He'd collapsed from hypoxia. Brooks grabbed the radio. "Mayday, mayday. Captain down, I repeat. Captain is unconscious." The transmission cut off mid-call as static filled the channel. Communication systems flickered. Lightning flashed outside the cockpit window. Back in the cabin, passengers screamed as the plane tilted sharply. Ayan's instincts kicked in, not panic but focus. Years of watching cockpits, training simulators, and flight manuals from his aviation school flooded his mind. He unbuckled, ignoring the chaos around him, and rushed toward the cockpit. A flight attendant tried to stop him, shouting, "Sir, please return to your seat." But Brooks' desperate voice from inside changed everything. "Does anyone here know aviation? I need help now." Ayan pushed through. The cockpit was small, filled with warning lights and alarms. Irfan lay motionless. Brooks was pale, his hands trembling on the controls as the plane shuddered violently. Ayan took a deep breath. "I'm a student pilot. Tell me what to do." Brooks glanced at him, uncertain for a moment, then nodded. "Sit! Right seat! Now!" Outside, lightning crackled through the clouds and the plane dipped again, passengers screaming in terror. Ayan's hands found the control yoke. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. "We're not going down," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. And as the storm roared outside, Flight 372 continued to descend, with a teenage student at the controls. The cockpit was filled with flashing red lights, warning tones, and the low whine of wind battering against the fuselage. First Officer Brooks struggled to stabilize the aircraft as Ayan's trembling hands gripped the controls. Sweat ran down his temple, but his mind was sharp. He'd trained for scenarios like this, in simulation. Never in real life. The plane was losing altitude fast. Brooks barked, "We're dropping to 20,000. Level it out!" Ayan adjusted the yoke slightly, feeling the resistance push back. His voice cracked, trim set, power steady. He'd seen pilots do this countless times, but the reality, 280 lives depending on him, was crushing. In the cabin, passengers clutched their seats, praying and crying. A child's voice broke through the panic. "Mom, are we going to crash?" Her mother didn't answer. Her lips moved silently in prayer. Brooks was pale, gasping slightly. The oxygen mask hung loosely around his neck. He pointed toward the captain. "Check him. Is he breathing?" Ayan leaned over. Irfan's face was gray, his pulse weak but still there. "He's alive," Ayan said, his voice trembling with relief. "But he's not waking up." "Then it's on us," Brooks muttered. He reached for the radio, but static filled the speakers again. "Mayday Flight 372 to any nearby control, do you copy?" Nothing, just the hiss of broken communication. The storm had scrambled their connection to air traffic control. "Sir," Ayan said, his voice steadying as adrenaline took hold. "If we descend to 18,000 feet, we might restore comms." "I'll hold altitude." Brooks stared at him almost in disbelief. "You're still in training?" "Yes, sir," Ayan replied. "But I've practiced emergency landings on simulators hundreds of times." Brooks gave a grim smile. "Then this is your final exam, kid." Together, they worked, Brooks calling out controls, Ayan executing them. Slowly, the aircraft steadied. The passengers, though terrified, felt the sudden calm and looked toward the front, whispering prayers of hope. Minutes stretched into hours. The storm thinned slightly, revealing brief flashes of blue sky through the gray. "Then," a voice crackled through the headset, "this is Ankara Air Traffic Control. Flight 372, we read your distress signal. Identify." Brooks grabbed the mic, nearly shouting, "This is Flight 372 from Doha to Istanbul. Captain incapacitated, emergency situation."
"Student pilot assisting at controls, static."
Then, "Understood 372. Maintain heading 035. We'll guide you in." Ayan exhaled, the first real breath he'd taken in what felt like forever. But the relief didn't last long. As they followed the controller's instructions, another warning flashed on the panel: low fuel. The storm had forced them to divert, burning far more fuel than planned. They were still nearly 200 kilometers from the nearest runway. "Sir," Ayan said quietly, "we might not make it to Istanbul." Brooks's eyes darted to the gauges, then back to him. "There's an alternate field, Konya Air Base. It's military, but if we can reach them, they'll clear us." Ayan's throat tightened. "We have to try." Below, the storm clouds began to break apart, revealing the ground far beneath them. The landscape looked endless, dark patches of forest and glimmers of city lights in the distance. Ayan focused. Every sound, every vibration of the aircraft seemed amplified. The radio buzzed again. "Flight 372, wind shear detected near your route." "Do not descend yet," Brooks cursed under his breath. "We're out of time." The alarm screamed once more. Fuel critical. Ayan's hands tightened on the yoke. He turned to Brooks. "Sir, give me control." Brooks hesitated only a moment, then said, "It's all yours, kid." Ayan took full control. His knuckles were white, his heart thundered, but his eyes were locked ahead. Through the windshield, lightning illuminated the horizon, and just beyond it, faint lights that might be the runway of Konya Air Base. They weren't safe yet, not even close. But for the first time, hope flickered inside that cockpit. The faint lights of Konya Air Base shimmered through the storm like distant stars, so close, yet impossibly far. Ayan's eyes stayed locked on the horizon, his hands steady on the controls as the aircraft groaned against the wind. Rain lashed against the cockpit windows, streaking the glass and blurring the world outside. "Flight 372, this is Konya Air Base," came a calm voice through the headset. "You are cleared for emergency landing. Winds from the south at 25 knots. Do you copy?" Brooks grabbed the mic. "Copy that, Konya. Student pilot at the controls. We're low on fuel and descending." "Understood," replied the controller. "We'll light up the runway for you. Keep your heading steady. You're doing great." The cabin behind them was a mixture of silence and sobbing. Passengers held hands, whispered prayers, and watched the trembling overhead lights flicker. Somewhere near the back, a man quietly filmed with his phone, capturing what he thought might be his final moments. Ayan's focus narrowed to the instruments. Airspeed, altitude, throttle. His brain processed everything automatically, but deep inside fear gnawed at him. He wasn't licensed. One wrong move could end everything. "Altitude 15,000, Brooks said. "Reduce descent rate." "Roger," Ayan replied, adjusting the controls. The plane leveled slightly. The turbulence was easing, but the fuel gauge was almost touching zero. Brooks turned to him. "If we don't make it to the runway..." He paused, searching for words. Ayan finished the sentence for him. "Then we make sure we crash where no one else gets hurt." Brooks nodded slowly, a grim understanding between them. Lightning flashed again, so bright it filled the cockpit. A split second later, a thunderclap exploded above them. The plane jolted hard, an air pocket threw them downward. Passengers screamed. The alarm shrieked. "Pull up!" Brooks shouted. Ayan yanked back on the yoke, his arms shaking under the pressure. The Boeing leveled, skimming through the clouds. He exhaled sharply, heart hammering, then silence. The engine sputtered once, twice. Then one of them cut out completely. Brooks checked the gauges. "Left engine's dead." Ayan gritted his teeth. "We'll make it on one." The plane limped forward, the hum of a single engine filling the cockpit. Outside, the runway lights of Konya Air Base were now visible, a narrow silver strip surrounded by darkness. "Konya Tower, we're coming in hot," Brooks radioed. "One engine out. Student pilot landing. Copy that, 372. Emergency cruiser standing by. You're cleared to land on runway 12. The descent was brutal. The plane shuddered as gusts of wind pushed against it. Ayan's voice was calm but firm. "Flaps 230. Gear down!" The landing gear deployed with a metallic thud. The rain intensified, hammering the fuselage like bullets. Every second stretched longer than the last. Brooks kept glancing between Ayan and the instruments. "You've got this, kid. Just keep her steady." The ground loomed closer, the runway lights now blindingly bright. Ayan could feel every vibration through the yoke. He adjusted the throttle, eased the nose up slightly, and whispered to himself, "Hold it. Hold it." The plane hit the tarmac with a bone-rattling thud, bouncing once before Ayan pulled the reverse thrust levers. The tires screamed, smoke billowing as the massive jet roared down the slick runway. The passengers braced, shouting, crying, praying, but they weren't slowing fast enough. Brake pressure dropping. Brooks yelled, "Come on!" Ayan hissed through his teeth. He applied full brakes, his arms trembling with the effort. The runway end lights flashed by. 20 meters, 10, 5, and then, finally, the plane screeched to a halt, the nose dipping slightly forward before resting still. Silence. For a moment, no one moved. The only sound was the rain tapping gently against the metal hull. Then, a collective cry erupted from the cabin. Applause, sobs, and laughter all mixed together. Brooks leaned back, shaking his head in disbelief. "You just saved 280 lives, kid." But before Ayan could answer, a new alarm beeped softly. Smoke began to curl up from the left engine. The danger wasn't over yet. The acrid smell of smoke spread quickly through the cockpit. Ayan's heart sank. The left engine, damaged and overheated, was beginning to burn. Outside, emergency vehicles were racing down the runway, red and white lights flashing through the rain. "Engine fire," Brooks said hoarsely, reaching for the cutoff switches. His fingers trembled as he flipped them. Fuel valves closed. Ayan followed, moving instinctively. "Fire suppression on." He hit the switch, releasing the extinguishing agent into the smoking engine. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the smoke began to thin, fading into the night air. Brooks leaned back, letting out a long, shaky breath. That should do it." Ayan's eyes stayed fixed on the gauges until every warning light went dark. Only then did he exhale. His entire body felt numb, every muscle in his hands still locked from tension. "Flight 372, emergency crews are approaching," came the voice from the tower. "Evacuation recommended." "Great work, son. You just made history." Brooks turned to Ayan, a faint smile breaking through his exhaustion. "Go on, kid. Announce it." Ayan nodded, fumbling for the intercom switch. His voice echoed softly through the cabin. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are safe. The aircraft has landed." For a moment, there was stunned silence. Then the cabin erupted in cheers. Some passengers sobbed uncontrollably. Others clapped until their hands were red. A mother lifted her child into her arms, whispering, "He did it. He saved us." As rescue teams guided everyone out through the emergency stairs, the cold night air hit Ayan's face. He stepped down onto the wet runway, rain mixing with sweat on his forehead. His legs felt heavy, his mind blank. But when he looked up, he saw hundreds of faces staring at him with gratitude and disbelief. A man approached him, the senior air traffic officer from Konya. He extended his hand. "You're the student pilot?" Ayan hesitated, then nodded. The officer smiled. "Not anymore." Brooks chuckled weakly beside him. "He's earned his wings tonight." Paramedics lifted Captain Irfan onto a stretcher, still unconscious but stable. Ayan's eyes followed him until the ambulance doors closed. That sight, the man who'd once been his hero, now rescued because of him, felt unreal. As the chaos settled, Ayan sat on the steps of the mobile stairway, staring at the quiet aircraft. The adrenaline faded, and with it came the weight of what he'd just done. Brooks sat beside him. "You know, when I was your age," he said, "I used to think flying was about control. Turns out it's about trust. You trusted yourself, and you trusted me. That's what saved us," Ayan nodded slowly. His voice was barely a whisper. "I didn't think, I just knew I couldn't give up." The next morning, news channels around the world carried the same headline. Teen pilot saves 280 lives after emergency landing. Reporters called it a miracle. Aviation experts analyzed every second of the landing. But for Ayan, it wasn't about fame. It was about something deeper. The moment he realized courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. Months later, when Captain Irfan recovered, he met Ayan again. He placed a pilot's badge in the young man's hand and said, "You didn't just land a plane, son. You lifted every one of us." Ayan smiled, looking out at the runway, the same strip of asphalt that had nearly ended his life. The sun was rising, painting the sky gold, and in that quiet morning light, he understood the lesson he would carry forever. In the sky, as in life, you can't always control the storm, but you can always control how you fly through it.